Have you ever heard of a place where the ocean doesn't kill you, but the walls do? This is Manus Island, a tropical island in Papua New Guinea, turned into a prison funded by Australia. For years, refugees who survived war, persecution, and dangerous seas were sent here. They thought they had reached safety. Instead, they stepped into a nightmare. The camp was built like a fortress, high fences, spotlights, and guards who carried batons and suspicion. Men slept in shipping containers that baked under the tropical sun until the walls burned to the touch. At night, the air smelled of sweat, rot, and sewage. Rats ran across bunks. Flies swarmed the toilets. Imagine escaping bombs in Syria, torture in Sudan, persecution in Iran, only to be locked in a cage by the very country you begged for help. Among those trapped was Reza Barati. He was only 23. From Iran. He loved football. He dreamed of becoming an architect. On Manus, he was not an architect, not a student, not even a refugee. He was simply detainee number. But still, he smiled. He still sketched houses on scraps of paper, houses with open windows and no fences. In February 2014, everything exploded. Rumors spread. You will never be settled in Australia. You will never be free. Fear boiled into anger. Men shouted. Some prayed. Some cried. That night, the gates burst open. Guards, local police, even angry locals stormed the compound. Rocks, boots, and batons slammed down on unarmed men. Screams split the tropical air. Reza was cornered. Witnesses say he was struck with a plank studded with nails. His skull shattered. He fell to the ground, blood pouring across the concrete floor of the prison that Australia built for him. He did not drown at sea. He did not die in war. He was murdered inside a cage, beaten to death at the age of 23. But the horror did not stop. 2 years later came Hamid Kehazaei, a young Iranian man, only 24. One day, he noticed a small sore on his leg. Nothing serious, an infection easily treatable with simple antibiotics. He begged for help. Doctors asked for permission to send him to Australia. Bureaucrats said, "Not urgent." The infection spread. His leg swelled black. Fever gripped him. He collapsed on the dirt floor of his container. His friends banged on the gates, screaming for help. Days passed before he was finally airlifted. By then, it was too late. Sepsis had consumed his body. Machines kept him breathing, but his brain was gone. His family watched as doctors switched off the ventilator. A young man was killed, not by war, but by delay, by bureaucracy, by silence. And then, another death. Faysal Ishak Ahmed, from Sudan. Gentle, soft-spoken. He loved reading, but on Manus, his body weakened. He collapsed over and over, begging for medical care. Guards accused him of faking. You just want attention. They sneered. One morning, his body gave out. He fell, struck his head on the ground, and never woke up. His friends carried him out wrapped in a blanket, while guards looked away as if death was just another rule of the camp. Each death sparked outrage. Protests filled city streets in Sydney and Melbourne. Headlines screamed across the world. Politicians pointed fingers. But inside Manus, nothing changed. The men still lined up for rotten food. They still slept in sweat-soaked beds. They still lived with the knowledge that tomorrow they might be the next name on the list. They protested. They stitched their lips shut in hunger strikes. They cut their arms with razor blades, writing messages in blood, freedom or death. Some swallowed blades. Some set themselves on fire. And the world barely looked. In 2016, the Papua New Guinea Supreme Court ruled Manus detention illegal, a violation of human rights. But Australia shrugged. They closed one compound, then opened another. Men were left stranded, stateless, unwanted, broken. Imagine surviving war, crossing oceans, only to learn that your punishment for seeking safety was to rot slowly, unseen, on a tropical island. Years later, the camp finally closed. But what about the men who died there? Reza Barati, beaten to death at 23. Hamid Kehazaei, a leg infection turned into a death sentence. Faysal Ishak Ahmed, collapsed, ignored, and left to die. Their names echo in inquiries, in Senate hearings, in news reports. But behind the headlines, they were sons, brothers, friends, human beings who wanted only to live free. Today, survivors of Manus still carry scars. Some live in limbo. Some wake every night with the sound of guards in their ears. Some whisper the names of the dead like prayers. And we are left with one haunting question. Was this detention, or was it slow-motion execution? If you are listening now, in the safety of your home, ask yourself, what kind of society builds cages on islands and calls them protection? What kind of democracy lets young men die, not from war, not from bombs, but from neglect, from paperwork, from silence? When you hear the phrase border protection, remember Reza, Hamid, and Faysal. Their borders were steel fences. Their protection was a coffin. They did not die at sea. They died in Australia's shadow. And if we forget them, we build those walls again.